very, very important.
No,
It is
that's
not
not it.
enough.
That's not what I want.
Bad basketball. The refs killed the game, and I will be the first
this is
to
awful
admit.
too.
Texans who will forever regret passing on Johnny
Is that serious
Manziel.
right now?
Oh, Golden Boy's
For
coming
what?
back.
And he wants to come back.
Dancing with the
No.
Stars?
And
Dancing with the
he
Stars?
called out
No.
Conor McGregor.
Oh, shit.
No.
That's
God,
true.
no.
Yes.
Hey,
It's a true
motherfucker.
story.
This I can get into.
And welcome back. This is Scout Team Sports. I am one of your hosts, Kyle Sanders. Next to me with the telephone up like he's recording us on Twitter Live is Mr.
My name is Chris America, coming at you live from Fineo Studios or the patio of the man with the golden mic, the men aficionado.
I don't know if you can call me that, but yeah, the man with the golden mic, the man with the mother effing golden mic, Anthony Mack at Mack Scout Team.
The Man Aficionado. Welcome aboard, Man Aficionado. We're glad to have you on board.
You know I can
with
beat
us.
both of you guys in a fight, right?
Not at
What
the
kind
same
of fight?
time. Like, are we
Any
talking
kind of fight.
pillow fight?
What fight are we talking? Yeah, pillow
We're
fight.
not
I
gonna
totally
pillow
kill
fight.
you. in a
No, we're
pillow
not
right
fight.
now. Bring
we're
out
not
your
doing
pillow.
pillow fight. No, I'm gonna kick
I
your
want
ass.
full down feather. Pillow.
I would kick your ass in a pillow fight.
You wish you could kick our ass in a pillow fight.
And if it was like, what is that where you're in the pool and you stand a chicken fight? I'd totally kick your ass in a chicken fight.
Chicken
I
fight.
almost want to say okay, cause
Bring it on. We
what,
could do
what
it
kind
in
of
your,
a man
in your
settles a-
jacuzzi. Can we do a chicken fight
No,
in there?
we're definitely not chicken
That
fight. in
chicken
the
fight
jacuzzi.
is looking pretty good. Like, I think we could take you out.
Look, if you guys want a pillow fight or chicken fight, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call it out. You guys can win. All right, I'm not gonna pillow fight you. That's something chicks do at a
I don't know what
sleepover.
your deal is. You're bringing us down a little bit.
And if
I'm
this
just
is
not
I
gonna.
mean, this was a challenge. Like, we should do a pillow fight bet.
No, we're not gonna pillow fight. We're not gonna pillow fight.
and if this is Street Fighter 2 fight, oh yeah, I'd button mash the hell out of you.
Hadouken.
That's what you did, didn't it?
Oh yeah, you got to be a button masher if you're
That's
gonna play Street
horrible.
Fighter 2.
That's horrible.
I was a button masher in everything I did.
No strategy whatsoever.
Nope,
just
none
AB,
whatsoever.
AB,
You
AB.
just go full tilt, all in,
man.
smash those buttons.
I hated people that play games like that. I
Yeah.
hate you guys. Sorry. I'm a strategist.
Like when I played Mortal Kombat, it was like back B for what's his name, Scorpion, to get the
Scorpion,
chain to
yes.
come out,
Oh,
just
yeah,
all
you gotta
the whole
do that.
time.
That's horrible. That
And
you
if I
remember
was
that.
what's his name, Sub-Zero, I think it was down forward B. I think that's how you freeze people.
Dude, I have no idea.
I
And then
know
you get
what
the toasty.
I used to play the Mortal Kombat Game Boy game, and then you would do the exact same thing back,
Yeah.
B or whatever, and it was the same for Sub-Zero and for Scorpion, and that was just I would just keep doing that over and over again. I was awful at that game, but it was
horrible.
fun.
And then what was it, Luke Cage, the split and then hit you in the nuts?
Oh yeah, that was embarrassing. I don't even know why that was a move. Like as Mortal Kombat evolved though, like as it got into these like bigger systems and better systems, now it's like I'm gonna rip the skin off of you and then melt your bones and crush your skull into 1,000 pieces.
And then they have like bestiality or bestiality or something like
Now,
that.
any game that has bestiality should be off the market for anybody. It's only available in Japan in the black market.
Yeah, I don't
because
think that's what it
bestiality
was.
should not be a feature for games. But they did have that. They even had that in the Mortal Kombat sequel of movie, which was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I do not recommend it for
Part
anybody.
2 was horrible.
That's what I'm talking about. The
yeah,
sequel, part 2.
1 was all right, though.
Yeah, 1 was good
it
enough
was
to
all
watch.
right,
I
yeah.
enjoyed it. It was entertaining. 2 was a piece of dog shit.
Yeah, but the song, the techno song or whatever, the Test Your Might, Mortal Kombat. That was a good song.
That was even worse.
No,
No.
what?
Yeah.
You didn't get down with the Mortal Kombat like techno rave song? Come on.
Sorry, pillow
Nah,
fight.
see, I
Chris.
was more of a ninja rap guy from.
Oh, I
Teenage
mean
Mutant
that
Ninja
song was
Turtles
good
2.
too, but
What?
I mean
Go
everything,
Ninja, go
everything
Ninja, go.
go.
Come on, Mac.
Vanilla Ice, yo.
Where you at? You're not a big Vanilla Ice fan?
You are?
I am Rob Van Winkle, man.
He was a Chris Cross fan because when they said the
Yeah, I
Mac
was Chris
Daddy,
Cross.
he's like,
Oh,
yeah, that's
oh, yeah.
me. The
Yeah.
Daddy Mac will make you.
jump.
Yeah, it was crisscross all the way, man.
Still is.
So speaking of fighting and getting jumped, did y'all see that fight with the Oakland Raiders?
Oh, that thing was awful, man. Crabtree.
Yeah.
Crabtree and
He-
Talib, right?
He
They're
like
going
glued
at
or
it.
taped his chain down this time, and
Yeah.
Talib still snatched it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Good for him, man.
$1 million fine, man. Was it worth it?
Hell yeah.
No. $1 million?
I mean, to me and you, $1 million puts us $1 million in the negative. But for like guys like that, they have money.
Especially me, because I know you guys are getting revenue from this and haven't shared it with me yet.
We're working on that revenue sharing program.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
coming out in 2020.
Gotcha.
Until then, we're just gonna have to keep
gonna
things
stay
the way
broke.
they
I'll
are.
just do things for
We'll go
free.
ahead and have pad our bank account. Chris
I
America
blame
and I.
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks.
Yeah, it did. The file did not post correct. It was supposed to be a CSV file that we're gonna upload to your QuickBooks file, and it wasn't compatible.
I'm calling my agent tonight. We're going to settle this shit.
You have an agent?
Don't you?
No, that's why we make so much money, and you don't.
Yep.
Motherfucker.
Don't need to be giving my
I
money to
mean,
no agent.
Yeah, no, I don't even know. Is your agent Asian?
No.
Okay, because
So-
ours is.
That's so racist. I'm
Can
not
I-
going to say anything.
Can we get back on track?
We are on track.
All right,
I was
that's true.
born on track.
We were
man.
born on
what
track.
What are you doing? What do you want to talk about? Sports?
Yeah, let's talk about sports.
Let's talk
No,
about
come on.
sports.
Is that why
Can
we're
I
here?
can I say football fights are the weakest fights out of any sports fights? Like obviously hockey's one, and I think NASCAR fights are two.
Yeah,
They've gotten
NASCAR's
some
pretty
big
badass.
brawl out fights.
You got to stop the car and get out. And
Yeah, they jump out of the window and they're like having
Yeah.
trouble getting out because they're
no,
so
but
pissed off.
and then you see them in the
infuriated.
garage, like they will hunt the other person
Yeah.
down. And there's like a lot of real rage there because you almost killed me,
Yeah,
so now I
yeah.
gotta beat your ass.
Yeah, football fights aren't that interesting. Plus, they get stopped like almost right away. I mean,
Right.
They don't go for 30 seconds. They're like 10. They're over.
Well, Crabtree didn't have his helmet on, and Talib did, and he's still trying to punch Talib. Like, I don't get why you try to punch a
Yeah.
man with a helmet on. It
Yeah.
just makes no sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't. That's like, I
Aim
want
for
to
the
break my
ribs.
hand. Like, let me break my hand. Where's your helmet at?
Yeah,
I'm going to
you-
show you how good I can break my hand. on your
Again,
helmet.
especially if you're a wide receiver.
Yeah, that's great. It
Yeah.
helps your tools out. Maybe he'll be a better wide receiver now.
Yeah, you got to aim
The
for the
Raiders could
ribs.
use the help because they've looked like crap.
I mean, didn't I say that already, though, anyway?
Yeah, you
When
did
did you
kind of
say
call
that?
it.
The beginning,
Yeah, at the beginning.
man, you got one thing right. How was your Florida State prediction?
As good as our Louisville one.
Yeah, the Louisville one was not good, but Louisville kicked Kentucky's ass this past weekend.
They
That
did.
Was good.
It don't count.
Anyway,
now,
we won't
though.
get into the college football.
Let's stay
stuff
on
until
NFL
we're
since
ready.
that kind of brought us there. We kind of skipped over our show notes, but I was like, we're talking about fighting. What a perfect segue into a fight. And it looks like everybody in the AFC West is going to be fighting for that divisional spot. I thought Kansas City was going to run away with it, but we said last week they got to win.
They got to win.
They lost
Yep.
to the
Dude.
Bills.
Kansas City's on a tremendous downward slide. You know what they should do? Is they should reach out to the Giants because Eli Manning right now is fighting back tears, and he needs a job. So let the Giants cut Eli. Kansas City could pick him up, and then they'll be a much better team because Eli is a Hall of Famer.
Who would ever think of that?
No, I'm just messing.
That is horrible.
They got to start Patrick Mahomes at some point, though.
What?
Don't you agree?
What? Are you going to bench Alex? Really?
You got to bench him. You are
No,
1
you
in
can't
5.
bench-
You're 1 in 5 after
you
starting
can't
5 and
bench
0.
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith is
It's
just
almost
an
as bad
average
as
guy.
it's almost as bad as benching Eli.
Yeah, so you're on this whole bench the big time quarterback.
Oh, wait, hold on. I just got a message. Let me read it real quick. Okay, I got it. We're good.
Yeah, so I mean, are you ready to start a rookie when you're trying to get into the playoffs and keep your head above water?
When I was 5 and 1, I wasn't. When I was 5 and 2, I wasn't. When I'm 6 now, right? Or 6 and 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you're at that record, you are now in must-win mode to make the playoffs. You are right now on the slide where you're not going to make it. This is John Gruden-esque, I'm just saying. John Gruden's last year on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a coach, they were 8 and 3, and they missed the playoffs because they lost the last 5 games in a row. The Chiefs are on that same path where they look like a really great, formidable team at the beginning of the year, and then all of a sudden they get into it, and they just disappear. They can't run the ball. They have no offensive rhythm. They're not using their tools correctly. Guys like Tyreek Hill aren't getting their production like they were earlier in the year. You need to just change it up. This isn't anything saying that Alex Smith has had a bad year. He's had a good year, but you got to try something different. You got to change it up. The Chiefs are looking bad. They need something.
They got the Jets, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Broncos.
That's a very winnable schedule.
You got to keep Alex Smith in, man. You cannot take him out and try to do something new. Not at week 12.
I mean, how
So
did that
who
work?
did they lose to?
How did they work out for the Bills though the week prior
Exactly.
when they switched out their quarterback?
They
for
put
a
him right
rookie?
back
But
in
do you
the
think
fourth
Peterman is as good? You thought he was as good or equal to Mahomes? I think Mahomes is a better talent.
Let me ask you this: did you even know who Mahomes was before the Kansas City Chiefs even drafted them?
I did, but I don't know a lot about him. So I get what you're saying.
Like when they traded up, and I'm like, wait, Deshaun Watson's still on the board, and some guy named Patrick Mahomes just got drafted. He just got traded up for.
Well,
I trust Andy Reid's judgment when it comes to quarterbacks because that guy knows what he's doing. But
Step on that pick.
I don't know. I mean, we still don't know. I mean, the jury's still out. We'll find out in 3 to 4 years if that was a good move or not.
I think he's gonna be good. I think they need to give him a shot. If Alex Smith would have, like, even if they were 3-3 in this stint, I would say keep going with it. But you're 1-5. You need change. I think it's time to put him in. And 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have said this. 5 weeks ago, I wouldn't have said this. But now it's like panic mode, must-win mode. You got to change something up, and you're not going to change a wide receiver or a tight end to make any difference because that's not going to be the huge difference. You need that captain of that team to change. And Alex Smith is a great quarterback, but in his career, he's always been known as a game manager type of guy. In week 1, he looked like that superstar. He's kind of reverting back to that game manager. They need something, a spark. I can't say it enough.
Don't bench him. You bench him and your season's definitely going down. Even if this kid can pull it out and get him to the playoffs, they're done.
So I'm talking about benching quarterbacks. The big benching this week is obviously the Eli Manning benching.
Yeah.
So before we get into anything else, I know we're going to go over some more AFC stuff, but I got to talk about this Eli deal. This thing has really been bugging me a little bit. I'm down on Eli because he isn't that great of a quarterback. He's a great
He beat Tom Brady twice.
2-game quarterback Super Bowl winner.
Oh, come on.
And I get that. In his career, he's been an Iron Man. That's respectable. He's been very up and down in his career. But after saying all that, what the F are the New York Giants doing putting Geno Smith in as your starting quarterback? I'd be with it with Patrick Mahomes. I am not with it on Geno Smith. I'd actually even be better off if they tried that rookie that they drafted in the 3rd round that they have behind him. Behind Geno Smith, but Geno Smith is garbage, man. He's already had his shot. Do not start that man.
Go ahead.
I do like how the running narrative with it is, the Giants need to see what they have in Geno Smith. You should already know what Geno Smith is in the NFL. Like I don't understand. The problem really isn't the quarterback. Like, obviously, Eli Manning is having a down year, and maybe it is time for him to go, but not 5 weeks left into the season. You either trade him 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks, whenever the trade deadline was, the end of October, or you just ride the season out, and then you either cut him or try to trade him then. But either way, like, to do that to, like you said, the guy that has the 2 Super Bowls for you, you already made the mistake in benching Tom Coughlin for this guy named Wackadoo McAdoo, and that hasn't panned out for you. So now you want to take the other aspect of this and get rid of Eli Manning and send him out with no fanfare, no... Like, is that how you treat a quarterback and a coach like that? It just... I get it. You want to win. You want to change the culture, but it's not going to happen this year. I'm sorry. You still have a trash offensive line. You still don't have a running game. So I don't care if you have Tom Brady, Eli Manning, Joe Montana, Tim Tebow. It doesn't matter who you have in there.
Tony Montana?
Or Uncle Rico. Maybe Uncle Rico could turn that team around, but...
Nobody throws a spiral quite as tight as Uncle Rico.
No, nobody can throw it over the mountaintops like Uncle Rico.
Whew, that guy.
Give him a shot.
Styling, man.
I mean, it sucks that Eli is being put out to pasture like this. I actually thought Giants were going to make some noise this year. I picked them to win the division, remember? Me, and I was still sticking with them, even though they were, 0-4, 0-5. So... it sucks that he's getting put out the pasture, but it kind of goes back to the Alex Smith thing. Even though he's won you 2 Super Bowls, shit, your season's in the toilet. You got to do something. McAdoo's obviously going to get fired after this. You know what I'm saying?
So
I think there's a good chance.
That's kind of why it's like, why are you letting Wackadoo make this decision? Why are you letting this happen?
Because he's trying to save his job, and he'll do anything to save it. I mean, if I'm a coach, I'm doing anything to save my job. Even I know the end is coming.
The pressure must be making him go crazy, though, because if you're crazy enough to think Geno Smith is going to save your season, there's no saving you. You're off the edge.
If Geno comes out this next game, and I don't know who they're.
And if I'm the GM, I take that decision out of his hands, because what am I going to do with the 8th pick in the draft? I'd rather us have the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd pick in the draft. That way I can have my choice in quarterback, or I have more trading power to trade up to the 2nd or 1st pick than I can if, like say they go on a 4-game winning streak. They win 4 out of 5. Who cares if they're 5-11 or 6-10? What does that get you? It's not going to get you into the playoffs. They're out of the playoffs now.
Yeah, they're out of the playoffs.
It's going to get you, like I said, it's going to get you the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th pick. Who the hell wants that? What's the point?
So what we're saying is Geno is just that horrible of a quarterback. But if he comes out against the Raiders, who has a decent defense, and throws 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and runs for 30, what are you guys going to say? It's a fluke?
No, I'm going to say he's still awful, because I think the Raiders' secondary is the worst part of their defense, and those guys let up a ton of yardage. So even if he comes out and has a decent game, it doesn't mean anything. I've seen what this guy can do. He's done. He's not worth it.
In the NFL.
And send the guy. Well, yeah, if he wants to join the Rough Riders, I might support him there.
Coaches.
What?
Under different coaches, right?
Who? Are you talking about?
Geno.
I mean, he's not done in the NFL. He probably makes a great backup quarterback. But is he a guy that's going to be your franchise quarterback? He's not shown anything in his NFL career prior to this to make you believe that. So, I mean, if you're the Giants, like I said, if he puts up those numbers and he goes 4-5, are you going to sit there and say, well, I guess Geno Smith is our answer, and now we're going to just draft an offensive lineman?
Nope.
No, man.
They're picking a quarterback.
Especially when you have a deep draft in quarterbacks this year, like everybody's claiming it to be. Why not go quarterback?
I like it.
And why not have Eli Manning do what Kurt Warner did for Eli? Leave Eli there and have your quarterback groom underneath him, like Eli did underneath Kurt Warner back in the day.
Give him a shot. He's going to get the shot anyway. Hell, he could be pulled by halftime. It happened to Tyrod Taylor, right?
Yep.
So,
well, the other thing that was kind of messed up that Eli didn't like is they told him that at first they're like, we'll let you start so you can continue on your starting streak.
No, that was fucked up.
But then at some point in the game, we'll pull you and we'll put Geno Smith in.
No, that was
he's
fucked
like,
up.
no. And then what's even more messed up is he's now on the scout team.
You know what? That would
He's
be
the
a
scout team
compliment
quarterback.
of the,
There's nothing wrong with the scout team.
on the planet right there. Being on the scout team, we
The
love
scout
this
team's
shit.
awesome. Hell yeah.
We're great.
We are great.
Welcome, Eli. No, look, that was the screwed up part, and that does make me kind of lose respect for McAdoo. Like, don't go over and tell the man, hey, go ahead and start to get your record, but we're going to pull you after your first series or something. That's kind of fucked up. Sorry. I mean, McAdoo's going after this season anyway, so whatever.
On a respect side, what I think should have happened is you finish out the season with Eli. You work on an exit strategy. You say to Eli, hey, you know what? This was a bad season. We've had, 14 great years with you, whatever his career's gone. And we appreciate everything you've done. We want to send you off respectably. How do you want to do this? Do you want us to trade you? Do you want to announce it on your own? Do you want to walk into the sunset? Do you want to go to another team? You tell us what you want, because we're drafting a new quarterback. We're moving on from you, and let you handle it like a man. And I think that would be the respectable thing to do. It's like when Peyton left Indianapolis. They were very respectful to what he wanted. They let him basically go around and decide who he was going to get traded to. Mm-hmm. And they said, you know what? We're going to cut you, but this is so that you can go to the Broncos because that's where you want to go. We're not going to make this a big deal. We appreciate what you did, but we're now moving on with Andrew Luck. And I think that's what they should have done with Eli.
But to be honest with you, who is he going to talk to? The GM? Because McAdoo's gone. So to be honest with you, Eli still could have a job next year.
I would go talk to the owners.
Can.
Screw that.
Eli would still have a job next year, probably. I mean, McAdoo's gone. the GM says, "Hey, sorry, Eli,
I mean,
come back and play."
Wackadoo McAdoo's not going to be able to do anything without the GM or the owner signing off.
That's
So,
true.
You don't think he has?
Not at this point. I don't know why you would let them do that. I mean, I honestly, I don't know. I didn't get why they fired Tom Coughlin. I don't get
That was
why.
a bad move.
I don't get why now they're benching Eli. I mean, could you imagine your last game and you don't even know it's your last game? Because it's not like
Sucks. After doing it for so long, yeah.
With
But
the
once
same
aga-
team?
But once again, this could all well be a wash at the end of the season. Eli could be back in the driver's seat with a new coach and back doing
I don't
stuff.
know.
that
It
they
could
were 2 years
happen,
ago.
but I don't
I
see
feel
it
like it's-
happening.
yeah.
I think
You
it's
think
done.
Eli's done?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So other NFL news that we want to talk
hey,
about.
how was your Thanksgiving night?
You know,
Speaking of the
Thanksgiving was
Giants.
great. I ate, I drank, and I got to watch the Redskins whip up on the Giants. Now
So
the Redskins
you
didn't
guys
look
are
that
the
good.
Eli Manning killers.
We are
You
the
guys
Eli
are
Manning
the
killers.
Team that
Kind of like
retired
Eli
Eli.
Manning is the Patriot killer. The Washington Redskins are the Eli Manning killer. It's all full circle. This is like the circle of life. I've got Simba on one side. I've got Mustafa
Mufasa.
or whatever, Mufasa on the other side. And I have Kirk Cousins, who's a top 5 quarterback, laying daggers onto the Giants. And this is how we roll. I can't say anything else.
I mean, you're a Redskins fan, so obviously it was
Am I?
fun for you to watch the games. But I'm gonna be
It
honest,
was a
with
boring
you.
game.
Those were some boring games on Thanksgiving. I
Now,
mean,
the Cowboys losing.
No, the Vikings game was good.
yeah,
that
that
was
was probably it, and then everything else was just like, yeah.
I mean, it was fun watching. What's his name? Phillip Rivers light up that Cowboys defense.
Yeah.
What did he throw for like 400 yards and then?
Old man Rivers has still got
yeah,
it, man.
he's got it.
Once again, that's fun for you guys. It was just like take out.
You
the
like
passion.
the Cowboys winning?
No, I just
So the
it was
Cowboys
just a
lose
boring
and it
game.
wasn't entertaining
It was
to you?
just a boring
Are you
game.
not entertained?
I wasn't entertained with that game. I thought
liked
they were going to
it just
put up a
because the
fight.
Cowboys lost and
Of
Old
course
Man
you did.
Rivers looked good. And I told you guys on last week's show that there was 2 teams that had must wins, and there was the Chargers on the AFC side, Redskins on the NFC side. Both teams win. Both keep their playoff hopes alive. The Redskins obviously need a lot more help because the NFC is better than the AFC. But honestly, right now the Chargers are my dark horse to really take a nice playoff run. So not only are they getting in the playoffs, they may make a deep run. Not saying Super Bowl, but don't be surprised if they're the dark horse that makes it to the AFC Championship game.
And
Okay.
I'm throwing it out there.
Okay.
and that Keenan Allen was fun to watch too. That game,
Dude,
Yeah.
man,
lighting
he
it up,
went
man.
off like 11 receptions, 172 yards. I didn't have him on my fantasy team, but I wish I did.
Yeah. He's unbelievable.
It was fun game, but I thought Cowboys would have put up much more of a fight. So
They're nothing without Zeke, man. That's
They
like
aren't.
they've basically their kryptonite is having Zeke Elliott go on suspension.
is everybody on my ship now that Dak is nothing but a Romo?
I am
farmer?
not on your shit.
Get on my ship.
Shit?
Ship.
Shit.
Ship. SHIP.
Okay.
Dumbass.
What ship am
Are
I
you guys
being on?
okay? You jumping on my boat? That Dak is.
No, I mean Dak
it-
is a
No,
he's
it's a
sophomore.
Romo former.
He's got it's a sophomore slump. It happens to a lot
Somebody
of
even
quarterbacks.
said they should go back and get Romo out the booth. That's
I mean,
how bad he was.
That's the other funny part is last year everybody's like, "Oh, Dak Prescott is clearly a better quarterback than Tony Romo." What does the media do when the reality changes on them? They change their statements. It's like,
Absolutely.
I told you this whole time that Tony Romo should have been starting, and that they put Romo out too soon. It's like nobody was saying that last year.
and I didn't say it, but I told them that Dak is just Romo in disguise. He is. I'm sorry.
For the first 6 weeks, it was like, oh, Romo's going to come back. This will be his team. But then they were had such a good record and they were moving along so good. After that, the rest of the year, it was like Romo's
They're
done.
like, "Who's Tony Romo?"
Yeah.
Who's
Tony
Tony
I don't
Romo.
even know who that guy is.
Yeah.
He's
We're
just
warming
a
up
really
his
good
seat
backup.
in the announcer's booth.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's fine.
But I honestly, I don't think Dak is a great quarterback. But again, sophomore slump, like you said, Chris, America. I do think that's part of it. And I think when you have an offense that's built on running and you do not have a running back that can fit that role, your whole offense just gets thrown off. And I don't think Des Bryant's the same dude that he was a couple years back. He seems like he's really dropped off the map. I don't even know what happened to him. And Jason Witten's getting old as shit. Their pieces aren't really performing like they should. I think Dak's in just a bad situation. And it's funny because a great situation can turn into a bad situation by one thing happening, whether it's an injury or a suspension. And the Cowboys just, everything's going wrong their way this year, which is good.
Their defense and their offensive line have been plagued by injuries. I mean, just to be fair, that's what's going on. But either way, I told you they were making the playoffs.
And, well, I mean, Mr. Kyle, scout team here, said they were going to go 3-13.
Oh, yeah.
And you had good, sound reasoning behind it because you were assuming at the time that it would have been the 6-game suspension. They would have had a lot of losses there, and then it's hard to gain back. But I think the way things fell out was even worse for them because at least with the 6-game suspension,
got it over
you
with.
get your spark back, and it's easy to say, okay, now our bread and butter's here. We got 10 more games. Let's do this. Whereas here, it's like the first, 7 weeks, 8 weeks before 9 weeks before he finally got suspended. It was the whole, he's suspended, he's not suspended, he's suspended, he's not suspended. There was clearly a distraction because the Cowboys struggled then. And then now that he's finally gone, it's like you guys said, it's their kryptonite. Like, wow, now our bread and butter's gone and we have these injuries. And they say winning's contagious, but I think sometimes losing is even more contagious. It's like, it's
hard to stop it.
It's hard to stop it, especially when you get dominated like you did on Thanksgiving Day. Or just like look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs were rolling well, then they took one loss, and they took a second loss. And now it's like they're finding it hard to find a way to win, that they go in kind of with this self-fulfilled prophecy of we're probably going to lose. So
people start questioning, the coach start questioning, and
they're saying,
never happened.
We should have had Tony Romo, or we need to bench Alex Smith. It's all those questions start.
Once those if starts popping up in the coach's head, it's over. You know, he's questioning everything he does on that sideline, and you never want a coach to do that. So, yeah.
It's contagious, like you said. You're going to start getting these losses. They're going to start snowballing, and you're going to end up with a big, giant mess like the Dallas Cowboys have. But the good news is there's a lot of other teams out there that are playing good. Let's go over some of these teams that are winning.
Well, I'm going to go with the contagious loss thing. I'm hoping that the contagious loss keeps going for the Saints because they lost to the Rams. And they have my Panthers this weekend.
Yeah.
They have my Panthers this week, who we just stole one from the Jets.
The game of the week.
We stole it from the Jets. So it's good that we're coming in with a win. They're coming in with a loss. I'm hoping that loss is a little bit contagious. Although, man, the Saints gave it all they had. And the Kamara, man.
That guy's good, right?
He's a beast. He makes you forget about that guy from Kansas City.
Adrian something?
No, that guy from Kansas
Peterson?
City.
Oh,
the other
Kareem
rookie,
Hunt.
I can't even remember his name anymore because Kamara...
Rookie of the year now.
He's taken Rookie over the year by storm.
Yeah, I mean, he got a lucky break with Deshaun Watson going out, so now it's wide open, no pun intended. And I do think that Kareem Hunt and the Chiefs' offense have just completely disappeared. I think Kareem Hunt had 27 yards this past week on like 12 carries. That is not the same guy we saw weeks 1 through 5. And now all of a sudden, you had Adrian Peterson on the Saints. They saw what they had sitting behind AP, and they said, you know what? Let's go ahead and unleash the beast. You got Mark Ingram, who's kind of the hammer, and you got this guy Kamara, who's the lightning. And these guys together are just fun to watch. And Drew Brees can light it up, throwing it downfield. So all in all, the Saints offense has everything going on. But the Rams offense looked a little bit better, so Rams ended up getting a win over them. So,
yeah,
you know, what can you say any given Sunday, right?
And that was good for the Rams because one of the biggest doubts about them is they haven't beaten anybody really with a winning record. So it was good for them to beat another top team in the conference. That'll go well with their confidence going into the playoffs. So
who you got?
In that game, I'm going to go Saints. I feel bad because Chris America's team is the Panthers. I'm not doing it to spite him, even though it would be really easy at this point. Panthers have looked good. Cam has gotten his shit together. He's been an all-around quarterback like he needs to be. And I think Funchess is a fun receiver to watch.
Yep.
I think Benjamin leaving.
Yeah, he's really opened it up for him.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So I think the offense is really moving. Jonathan Stewart's getting back into form. So you're seeing a good offense there. I mean, I think it's going to be a great game. I'm looking at like a 35-34 game that it's just last minute, whoever fights for it the hardest. And I'm leaning towards Saints, but I could see it going either way. I'll be honest with you.
That's a mouthful. I'm just gonna say Saints. Sorry, I think the Saints they got more going for them right now. And Cam, even though he's playing really well, we've seen him this season play really bad.
No, we have.
So,
and like I said, the Saints didn't look bad in their loss to the Rams. So the Panthers defense is going to have to show out, but the Panthers offense is going to have to show up because the last time we played them, we were non-existent on offense. I think we had 3 turnovers, a couple of return for a score. So we definitely got to play better. And this is really going to be to who solidifies themselves as the leader in the South of the NFC division.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take my Panthers, though, to do it. We got to punch them back. They punched us earlier in the season. Can't go against my Panthers, man.
I like it. I like where you're going with that.
What we got Thursday night?
Thursday night. So I'm looking at our notes here that were written by Coach Mack over here, the man with the mother effing golden mic.
Motherfucker.
And he says, Redskins at Cowboys, Thursday sleeper. I think it's like in fantasy football when you have a sleeper pick, it's somebody that you don't think is going to be really good at first, but they have that potential to come out and just hit you in the face and score a bunch of points and make this awesome.
I know what he meant.
I'm going...
I'll tell you what he meant when you're done.
Go ahead.
I'm going Redskins.
Of course. Of course you would.
I don't have to say much more.
Okay.
I think Max called it a sleeper because he thought the Thanksgiving game was a sleeper. So he sees Kirk Cousins throwing it all over the yard, putting up a bunch of yards and winning like 28-7, and that puts Mac to sleep.
If you haven't, if you don't pit them away in the first half, I'm gonna beat your ass. Like seriously, you represent Washington.
It's not because I'm not cheering hard enough, because that is not a problem.
It's no
I've
way.
never been told that I don't cheer hard enough for my
I
team.
hear you, but it's no way this game goes into the third quarter. You gotta pick them
Mercy
away.
roll them at halftime.
Why do I picture you like the Will Ferrell character from his SNL skit, the cheerleader skit, with him and the chick? Why do I picture that being you with your Redskins?
It's pretty spot on.
Oh, okay.
It's a good call.
Pretty spot on. Yeah, you guys should. You guys better win. Put it that way.
I say that every week.
I just realized we've never watched NFL games together before.
Yeah, because it could get violent.
I think we should watch Thursday Night Football together.
We should. Anyway,
That got off.
I don't want to watch my Redskins with you guys. You'll be ripping on me left and right. All I know is
Especially if they lose to the Cowboys.
If they lose to the Cowboys. Yeah, I'll lose my shit.
So listen, we already said the last 2 weeks that your Redskins got to keep winning, and you need some help.
It continues.
So
we need a lot of help.
Like I said, the NFC South has got 3 teams that are in the playoffs right now as far as the record-wise go. So you need some of those teams to lose, and you need to keep winning.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
the good news is the Bucks are playing the Packers, so one of those teams will lose. Somebody's got to lose.
Hey, Winston's coming back.
Is he?
Yeah. He's set to start.
Yeah, to Florida State because they're so bad. They need some
actually
help.
played better without him, if you ask me.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick wasn't bad.
They played better
Little
without him.
Fitz magic in
So,
the back pocket.
I mean, this game is
It's the beard.
this
He
game.
gives me all my power.
This game doesn't really matter.
And makes me
I
sexy.
mean, at this point, we've already said that Aaron Rodgers shouldn't come back. At least I said it. This game, to me, is pride, I guess. And for Cal's sake, you hope Green Bay loses, you know, to have another loss on their belt. But there's no way. I mean, it could go either way. This is a coin flip. It's Green Bay versus Jameis Winston and the hapless Tampa Bay Bucks. I don't know.
I think that's
Who
a
can-
sleeper.
Yeah, that is definitely a sleeper. Somebody's
about,
got to lose.
So the Vikings right now are red hot, and the Falcons have been a little hot as of late, even though they do like to try to lose games in the fourth quarter. So Vikings-Falcons, what do you guys think of this game?
I think the Vikings are going to put them to sleep.
And you got this theme. You just like sleeping.
He's like sleep. I think he's a tired guy.
He's like Grandpa Simpson. Every time
It's
I turn
the
around,
guy.
he's like...
It's the
It's
guy.
all that
He's
tryptophan from the
narcoleptic.
Yeah,
turkey.
It is a
the itis.
tryptophan.
I mean, look, it's the Vikings look good. The Falcons need a win. They need a win, and I don't think it's going to come against the Vikings. The Vikings look really good.
The Vikings have an interesting dilemma here, and everybody says it's a good dilemma to have. It's an intriguing dilemma to have with Case Keenum being so good, and now you got your franchise guy Teddy Bridgewater kind of sitting in the wing, and it's like what they say. The NFL is a very cruel place. If you get injured, somebody's there to replace you, and We saw it with Tony Romo. Now we're seeing it with Teddy Bridgewater. And a lot of people are kind of doing what they did with Dak, like, oh, wait till he loses. And just Case Keenum just keeps on winning.
Yeah.
So I don't really foresee any reason why the Vikings should lose.
Don't pull them.
And I hope the Falcons lose for my sake and your sake as a Redskins fan.
Yeah, no, I'm all in on the Vikings. They are legit. I think they're going to win this game. I think Case Keenum has been underrated his entire career. He's always been like that backup that comes in that everybody's like, oh, it's just Case Keenum. He's nobody. He's out of Houston. I think he was undrafted.
Yeah.
Never got that love like he should have from the very beginning. And now he's showing everybody, like, you don't need to bring in this other guy. And honestly, Teddy Bridgewater was a good player, but he wasn't actually playing as well as Case Keenum is now when he was playing.
He had AP back there, too, a little bit.
Yeah, and AP was kind of dwindling down in his career.
He was still AP, though.
But I do think the Vikings are still a complete team. Defensively, they have great corners, great defensive line. Their offensive line is awesome. And their running backs, you got Latavius Murray, UCF legend, and you've got Jerick McKinnon. And those guys are just completely tearing it up each week because of their offensive line. So Vikings are a complete team. I think they take the win, but Falcons have looked pretty good the last couple weeks. They've bounced back pretty nicely. What other games you got there on the schedule, Mac? Coach Mack, you got anything?
The Patriots at the Bills look interesting.
No.
Yeah.
For what? The Patriots to win 38-10?
You think so?
Yeah. Once you benched Tyrod Taylor, you told that team, like, you're done.
They bounced back, though, last week with Tyrod.
Against the Chiefs, who are 1-5 in the last 6 games. Is that a real bounce back game?
I mean, it's still the Chiefs until we see otherwise.
No, it's not the Chiefs. They're the artist formerly known as the Chiefs.
Okay.
I don't count that as a bounce back game.
No.
I think the Patriots completely destroy the Bills. I don't care about Bills Mafia. I don't care about anything. Tom Brady is Tom Brady. Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick. And the Patriots are playing better now than they have all season. And
they've been kind of quiet, actually. They've been under the radar.
Who, the Patriots?
Yeah, they've been winning, but it's just kind of smooth sailing.
It's kind of like the Golden State Warriors,
absolutely.
like we talked. It's we're
Same old
Patriots won
story.
again, ho hum. It's like the Patriots don't become a story until they start losing.
Right. I remember the beginning of the year, they lost like 2 games in the first 5 weeks. And we're like,
oh my God,
they're not that
world is on
good.
fire.
Brady should retire, yeah.
Get rid of him. He's old man Brady.
I think we're on a collision course for the Steelers and the Patriots later down the road to be the battle of the number 1 seed of the playoffs. And, I mean, I pretty much predicted the Patriots go 14-2 or 13-3, and they're right on track for that. I don't see any reason why.
So you're not feeling my Chargers prediction?
No.
No, dude.
Dude, you guys are killing me. Bold prediction time. San Diego Chargers make it into the AFC Championship game. Unless first week of the playoffs they have to go against the Patriots.
Even say that
and then
with
we're
a straight
screwed.
face.
No, I like the Chargers. I'm jumping on that bandwagon. They need fans more than any other team in the NFL because they don't have that many. And I want to be that guy that just helps a brother out because old man Rivers, he's a nice dude. He's got like 17 kids, and I appreciate that. Family guy.
I guess so. He's
All
Mormon?
right. Huh?
He's Mormon?
No, he's not Mormon. Why do
17 kids.
I made that up. It's like 10, I think. He could be
That's
Mormon.
close.
I don't know. He's not in Utah.
Maybe he's whatever
enough.
that 19 kids
Jehovah's
and counting,
Witness?
whatever religion they are. You ever seen that show, 19
I
Kids
thought
and
they were
Counting?
Mormon, right?
No, they weren't Mormon. They were Baptist or something. I don't know.
Really?
They just didn't believe in contraception or condoms or pulling out.
Sounds like a terrible way of living life. Eagles versus Seahawks. Last game that we've got here listed.
It's going to be a good game.
It is going to be a good game. What do you think? So, one, the Eagles' best record in the NFL. It's not fool's gold. I was low on the Eagles going into the year. I thought Carson Wentz was going to take his sophomore slump. The dude proved me wrong. Maybe it's the reddish hair and beard because that's kind of what I got going on. So him and I are basically brothers. So he takes all of his power from my beard and puts it onto the field and becomes the greatest Eagles quarterback of all times. So I like him.
You like
Yeah,
him?
I was down on him at the beginning of the year. I'm a turncoat, and I'm going, Eagles taking the Seahawks down. That's what I'm going.
When we did the Real or Not segment a couple of weeks back, I said the Eagles weren't for real. I'm still on that train.
There's no way.
I'm still on the train. I don't think they make it to the NFC Championship.
He has the right to his opinion, even though it's a terrible,
they
terrible
don't make it to
opinion.
the NFC Championship.
You can't say a team's not real because they don't make it to the NFC Championship. Only two teams can make it. So you're basically saying that, what is there, 16 teams in the NFC? Only 2 teams in the NFC are for real? That's ridiculous.
Saying. I mean, look.
I think once you're a solid playoff team, you're for real.
So they're a good team. They're a good team. They beat the Seahawks. I just never been able to say, hey, let's go Eagles. I just never been able to say it.
You think they're going to win this game, though?
They'll win this game.
All right. I mean,
and it's at Seahawks. It's gonna be a tough game. It's kind of hard to go against the streak. Yeah, go Eagles. They'll win this one.
All right. So after we go Eagles, we should talk a little bit about this bandwagon gimmick you got going on, Anthony. He's wondering which bandwagon we would jump on if we were restarting the season.
I mean,
over.
this is the part of the season where people are just like, oh, my team's not making it. This team is actually good, and I didn't even think about it. It's bandwagon season.
I think he means like my quarterback broke his collarbone, and
I need another team to cheer for.
The cheese has gone bad.
Yeah,
cheese has
it's
gone
rotten.
bad.
It's old and moldy.
I mean, you
disgusting.
two are still having a chance, but it's around us. Well,
it's an outsider's chance, but I'm still hanging in there. I
Yeah.
like the fact that it's still a competition.
So if my Panthers were out of it, what bandwagon? I honestly would jump on this Eagles bandwagon because this team is really fun to watch. It's really cool. I like seeing. I'm glad to see that we're finally getting some young quarterbacks to come into the league because I was starting to get worried now that Peyton Manning's gone. Drew Brees is soon to be gone.
All the big names.
Tom Brady's soon to be gone. I was kind of getting worried that who's going to be this next group of 5 or 6 quarterbacks that are going to filter in because Flacco's gone stale.
he
Eli
was never
Manning,
top 5. Though.
He got paid like he's top 5 and he won a Super Bowl.
That Super Bowl year, he was motivated. It was a contract year.
I mean, that playoff.
He bet on himself.
That
and
playoff
he
one
played
was
unbelievable.
ridiculous.
It was. I agree.
That was a defensive team, but okay, I got you.
But
So-
Cam Newton's kind of he's hit or miss, to be honest with you, even as a Panthers fan. Like some days you're like, he's the future of the NFL. Other days you want to call him a bust. So there wasn't really anything going for the NFL for you to say, wow, once Brady, Manning, Breeze, Tony Romo, once those guys are gone, who's the exciting quarterbacks that are going to come up and be that way? And it's good to see Carson Wentz kind of get off the schneid like he was last year, and same with Goff.
Yeah,
And
no,
now
I
we
agree.
have some really solid quarterbacks. So I would jump on that Eagles train.
So you're on the Eagles bandwagon. Mac, what bandwagon would you jump on?
If I had to jump over on a bandwagon, it'd have to be the LA Rams. I mean,
I like it.
I just one of the teams that we were just like, they're not going to win half their games.
No.
And they look really solid.
And that offense is, again, really fun to watch. Both the Eagles and the Rams are two really fun teams to watch.
They're actually really fun to watch. So if I had to do it all over again, I'll jump on the LA Rams bandwagon.
All right, so I like your Eagles bandwagon. I'd probably think about jumping on that one.
If you didn't hate them so much.
Yeah.
I actually don't hate the Eagles.
Yeah, because you got family in Philly.
I have family in Philly. Like, I hate the Cowboys. I dislike the Giants, but I can tolerate them. And the Eagles, I kind of like as long as they're not playing the Redskins. They're kind of like my other NFC team that I can cheer for. So I would definitely be on that Eagles bandwagon. But since you selected, then I'm going to have to go somewhere else. Rams, great choice. But for me, I like the LA Chargers, but I'm not going to say bandwagon on that yet. That's my bold prediction. But my real bandwagon jump, I'd be jumping on the Saints bandwagon. I like the Saints. I think their defense is finally playing good, and it's letting their offense be what they are, and that is a high-powered, exciting, energetic offense that is fun to watch. I'm a Saints fan. What can I say?
This is a good pick, man.
Good pick.
All right, so we talked a lot of NFL, but there's a college playoff ranking show that just happened a couple nights ago. There's a coaching, I don't know what to call it because it's so freaking psychotic.
To be honest
everything
with
going,
you,
it's crazy.
I'm looking more forward to the coaching carousel news than I am this weekend of conference championship games. You got Tennessee on their 11th coach.
I was reading an article this morning. I'm sorry to cut you off, Chris, but I was reading an article because you mentioned that, and it said Tennessee's looking at this coach, Purdue. Tennessee's looking at NC State's coach. Tennessee's looking at defensive coordinator from Auburn. Tennessee's looking at this coach. Tennessee's looking at this coach, and it was literally 11 coaches that right now they are considering.
Right now, Tennessee is literally that guy that's just going to every single chick in the club at 1:45, just being like, "You down? No, you down? No," and they just going down the line until finally somebody goes.
You want to go home with me? You want to go home with me?
Please. Yeah, it's bad, and to be honest with you, I mean, who wants that job? I mean, it's a toxic job right now. Nobody really wants to go there.
A coach that wants to get into the SEC, like the coach from Purdue. He wants to get into a big program. He may take that chance. Not to say he will. He may take that chance.
You go to Texas A&M.
Well, if Texas A&M wants them, you may take. It's like, I guess, ironically, it's when Greg Schiano went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was not ready to be an NFL coach, and he went from Rutgers to the NFL. It was not a good fit for him. Now, one of these other teams are going to have an opportunity to get on an SEC team as a coach, one of these other coaches, and you're going to get a guy that's not ready that's going to make a huge jump, whether it's from a team that's kind of a lower-level team jumping into the big pond that is the SEC, or it's going to be one of these coordinators that isn't a top-tier coordinator. They're like that second tier. So Tennessee's been killing me with all this news, man. It's terrible.
I mean, when you actually get close to announcing a coach and your fans riot, no coach actually wants to go there. I mean, it's a tough place to coach regardless, but then you got fans that are revolting in the streets. Dude, nobody wants to go there.
Yeah, every coach is going to look at that and say, wow, so basically all the fans have to do is paint on a rock,
and I'm gone.
And then go march in the streets, and I'm out of a job.
Yep. So nobody wants to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. I turned down the Tennessee coaching job.
But
so if you're working in a restaurant and the manager gets fired, and they say, okay, assistant manager, do you want it? No. Head waitress, do you want it? No. Bottom waitress, do you want it? No. Dishwasher, do you want to be the next manager? They're like, hell yeah, I'm making $7 an hour.
Right.
Now I'm going to be making $40,000 a year. This is the best job ever.
So what you're saying is get the beer guy to become the coach?
Right, that's what you need.
Peanuts guy, you want to become the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers?
That's basically what they're doing. This is what's happening right now. Eventually somebody's going to say yes.
Although the Peanuts guy, man, he throws a lot, so he can coach up the quarterbacks.
Sure.
If you can throw a bag of peanuts, you could throw a football.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm on board.
It sucks to be Tennessee right now.
No, I got the perfect advice for them. And this is all seriousness and all joking aside. Tennessee, I know you're listening because you're big fans of the sports counter. Or sorry, not the sports counter. The Scout Team Sports.
The Sports Counter.
We love the guys at Sports Counter.
Can I edit this? Preston, if you're listening out there, I told you I like the Eagles. Chris is on the bandwagon. We're actually turning into your show.
Yeah. All right, so the Scout Team Sports, I know you're listening out there, Tennessee.
The whole state.
The entire state.
Everybody.
You need to fire your AD. Sorry. I mean, some of it's his fault, some of it's not his fault. You need to just get rid of him, and you need to hire Philip Fulmer as your new athletic director.
Ooh.
You need to make a public apology to Philip Fulmer because firing him 10 years ago is why you're here today. So offer him the public apology. Then you need to have him go to L.A. and start talking numbers with T. Martin and his agent. And you don't stop talking numbers until T. Martin says, I'll take the job. Then you have Peyton Manning come in and introduce T. Martin as the new coach, and you give him your blessing, whatever hoorah speech Peyton Manning needs to give, and that's the only way you're going to get the Tennessee Volunteer fans to shut the hell up is if you just Tennessee Vol the hell out of it. You put every single person that makes them feel good inside associated with the university, and then you just do it. That's the only way this is going to blow over.
You think Fulmer wants anything to do with that?
You think T. Martin wants anything to do with that?
I mean, they love their university,
Do you think
don't
Peyton
they?
Manning wants
That's
anything
why
to do with that?
Nobody wants to deal with it, bruh. It's over.
You
love their
gotta hope that
university,
their
yeah.
love for the university overcome, because I can't imagine anybody else other than people who love their university to come in and take the job.
Those fans
It's a good
showed
theory.
their
I like where you're
ass.
going with that.
Those fans showed their ass. Nobody, they won't get a coach till
There's a lot of
February.
fans that show their ass, though.
They're going to get a coach in February, and it's going to be so
I mean,
low
look,
tier.
it's either Peanuts guy or T. Martin. Those are your options.
It's going to be Peanut Guy because T. Martin's like, shit, I got a nice cushy job up here, bruh. I'm good.
No, I mean, it is bad when you offer somebody double what they're getting paid and they still say no.
Dude, I'm good. I don't want that headache. I mean, if I'm money hungry and I say, you know what, I can deal with stress for about 2 or 3 years, I'll go. But if I'm actually trying to make a name and I actually want to continue coaching, I don't touch that job. They're going to have to find somebody who is like a defensive coordinator in the middle of nowhere, coaching high school, is like, hey, yeah, I used to be a head coach for the Pop Warner team, and yeah, I'm pretty good. I could bring my whole coaching staff with me, and we
So
could do
someone
this for
like
3 years.
Dan Mullen? No, I'm just fucking with you. No,
Oh,
Dan
I mean,
Mullen's a good
that was a
pick. man.
burn,
He's a
bruh.
big coach.
That's all right.
That was a
He's-
burn.
I actually think he's a good pick for Florida. I think they've had a couple of this coaching.
Do you?
Well,
Come on.
I would have liked Chip Kelly better. I'm not a Gators fan, so Chris America, he's going to have his own take here in just a minute. But I am not a Gators fan. I wanted Chip Kelly. I thought that would be good for the university, for the state. And getting Dan Mullen, to me, it isn't a rah-rah, this is the best coach ever move. This is we're getting a top coach that's going to make this program better. Let's see where it goes. But I think we're going to have more consistency and less of this coaches posing naked on sharks and all this bullshit that goes along with it. And hopefully he has a little bit better, I guess, control over the players and less of these arrests and juvenile delinquent shit that is really kind of hurt the
That happens
Gators.
all the time.
I know, but it was really bad this year.
I mean,
It was kind of part of
Well,
why
it
the
was
season
really-
started
is
out.
bad this
It
year.
was really just those 9 guys, but
I mean, that was it.
obviously.
Hold up. Before you go, I got to get my take in, man.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Because I know you're going to
Hold
go
on, hold
along
on.
with it.
No,
You
go
ready?
ahead.
Go. Look,
Wait.
he's not the guy you wanted.
Go ahead.
He's the guy you settled for. And I think he's a decent coach. I think Florida should have got a young guy with a lot of energy,
He's 45.
a younger guy with a lot of
You want Scott Frost. That's what you're going for.
No, I'm not
There's
even.
not
I'm not
a
even
Scott
saying Scott
Frost on
Frost.
every
Maybe
corner.
it's Scott Frost-esque. You know, I'm just saying. I don't think
Yeah,
think
these
Dan
guys
Mullen's
don't
your
grow
guy.
on trees, though.
They-
You've got to look at it. It's easy
Scott
to say
Frost
that.
Scott Frost wasn't a tier 1
But
prospect.
how many 50 guys get these coaching opportunities and just fizzle away?
They took
and
a
then
shot.
one guy turns into this superstar.
They took a shot on
Every
Scott
year
Frost.
there might be 2 or 3 of these type of guys.
They
I
took
don't
they took a shot on Scott Frost. It
Who
worked
did?
out.
Who
UCF.
did? Oh, UCF.
UCF, and it worked out.
And he should repay them by staying there.
Oh, we'll talk about that later. But
He's repaying them by taking them to a New Year's Six bowl and a conference championship and turning that
but
team
Dan
around.
Mullen is the guy that you settled for. I think you guys should have searched a little bit harder. Kind of like Tennessee. I think you just like, oh man, we can't let this guy go away because he's the top on the list. Sometimes it's unconventional thinking that gets you the best results. I'm gonna call it. You're gonna get rid of Dan Mullen in 3 years.
Okay, that's fine.
We'll wait on that prediction.
It's interesting. Everybody's like, oh,
years.
you guys settled on Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen's not an exciting hire. If you look at the coaching availability, he's a top 3 available coach. No questions asked. Like, it went Chip Kelly. And to be honest, Chip Kelly I definitely made it very well known that I wanted Chip Kelly. I was excited that we would get Chip Kelly because Chip Kelly is the proven commodity in the Power 5. He had that 46-7 record. He has the BCS bowl games. He has the conference titles. He's an innovator and everything else. It's very exciting. Well, there's only one Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly can't go anywhere. And I remember, I don't know if I said this on the air or if I said this to you guys off the air before we did the show, but I was telling you guys, part of me, the fact that he's taking so long, I mean, I still want him, but do I want the guy that doesn't know that he wants to be here? And he made his final choice, and that's fine. I'd much rather have the guy that wants to be here because I think Chip Kelly's waiting to go to the NFL. And I knew that...
Back?
Yeah, back to the NFL. I think that's where his sights are. All the reports are that he hates recruiting. I would still take him because my thought process is let's just get us back to winning. He can set the program up and then leave it to somebody like a Scott Frost or somebody else to kind of take over. But when it comes to Dan Mullen is, again, there were a lot of other schools that wanted Dan Mullen, and he chose Florida. I don't think Florida settled on Dan Mullen. There's no way you settle on a guy who took Mississippi State to heights they've never even been to before. Mississippi State has had 20 bowl games since 1895. He is part of 8 of them. He has 4 quarterbacks he's put into the NFL, and no other college coach can say the same. He put Alex Smith. He groomed up Tim Tebow enough to be a first-round pick in the NFL. He had the most time with Cam Newton in college. Cam Newton was at Florida for 2 years, where he was at 1 year at each of his other 2 schools. So Dan Mullen definitely had a piece of that. He had Dak Prescott under his wing. And then everybody says that this Fitzgerald kid is probably going to go into the NFL as well. I don't know any other head coach in college football that has that kind of track record. And then, look, when he had Florida talent at Florida, that offense was clicking. It was the best offense Florida's ever had, that's including against Steve Spurrier. So, I mean, I admit it. I was kind of like you guys, like, oh, we're just settling on Dan Mullen. And then maybe, you know, what you do when you're a homer, you find good reasons to like your new hire.
Yeah.
I think it's a good hire.
I mean,
I'm with you.
I mean, he's a safe bet, absolutely. But is he going to get you over the hump? He's going to get you where you want to be.
I mean, he's going to get us.
What do you want to be in 3 years?
Listen, he won 8 games in the SEC West. That's very hard to do with lesser talent. I can only imagine what he can do with Florida talent, where he's got Georgia and nobody else. There's Will Muschamp at South Carolina. You found out what Will Muschamp's all about this past weekend.
Yeah, he's a solid second-tier coach.
Yeah. Kentucky's good, but they're still Kentucky. Vandy's still Vandy. Missouri's still Missouri. And then who the hell knows what's going to happen with Tennessee? So there's no reason why they can't win 6 games there on that side of the table, or 5 games, and then they're going to play a bunch of cupcakes for their out of conference schedule, except for we got Miami coming up soon, and then obviously Florida State. So there's 3 wins there, and then you sneak one on LSU, and you sneak one on whatever other SEC West school that we played, Mississippi State. You're like 9, 10 wins right there.
Yeah, you're back in the championship.
I think he's capable of doing that. Okay. Now, is he capable of winning a championship? That's left to be seen, because obviously we didn't see it at Mississippi State. He had a lot of questionable calls at the end of the Alabama game where I was like, oh, man, I felt like he should have just gone for the jugular right there, and he held it close, played conservative, and same with the Mississippi Ole Miss game. We watched that game get out of hand, and all he did was lose his starting quarterback. So, obviously, but you can say that about any coach that you hire. So, Speaking of new hires, what's going on with your Florida State guys?
Ain't nothing going on in Florida State.
I mean, who are they going to pick up after Jimbo Fisher signs with Texas A&M?
Jimbo Fisher isn't signing with Texas A&M.
Are you in denial? I feel like right now we're going to have an intervention. So Chris America and myself, Loudbeard,
so you see
Kyle
how the
Sanders
homer hat comes on when we
is
talk
going to
about
have
Florida
to talk
State?
about this.
Well, okay.
Hold on a second.
First off, he said there's nothing going on at Florida State. That's a bold-faced lie.
What are you talking about? There's nothing going on.
I just looked up on Twitter. I searched Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher just had a fan kicked out of his call-in show because he asked about his loyalty. That's how sad and pathetic Jimbo Fisher has come, because somebody says, How is your loyalty to Florida State? He doesn't answer the question. He has that fan removed. I'll show the video after we go off air. But
I agree. It's troubling. It's troubling.
Oh, okay.
Do I think he leaves? Honestly, I mean, it would have to be a better job for him to go to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Texas A&M is not a better job. I mean, if the money is that great and the facilities are that awesome, maybe, but I just don't see that happening. I don't see him going anywhere as a lateral move. I think he stays. I mean, if he does, it'll be a surprise to everybody except you guys, and he'll go, and then Florida State would be the best coaching job in
everybody except us.
in the US.
No, it'll be a surprise to
to
just
nobody
you.
except you.
Whatever, man.
I could. It was a surprise when I heard that this was a rumor, and over the last 2 weeks that this rumor's been going, it surprised me that it's been festering up to this point. But now that he's been asked several times after the Florida game, Mike Bianchi asked him, "Hey, is this your last Florida State game?" "Oh, I don't want to answer that." Is UL Monroe going to be your last game with Florida State? Mike, I don't talk about my jobs. He was asked again on Monday on some radio show. "Oh, I don't discuss my job, blah, blah, blah." A fan is asking him, "What is your loyalty to Florida State?" And he's kicking him out. Not even saying, "My loyalty is solid to Florida State." And you know what? Even if Jimbo Fisher stays, he's hurt his relationship with the fan base to where if you go 5-6 next year through 11 games like you are this year, it ain't going to be nice and it's not going to be pretty for you. Plus, it's going to be hard to recruit against Dan Mullen or Mark Richt, who both can come up to Florida State recruits and say, "Hey, I just signed a contract for 6 years." Mark Richt can say, I'm at home. I'm at my alma mater. I'm not going anywhere. We just won 11 games this year. We almost won the ACC championship. You don't even know what Jimbo Fisher's doing. Last year was LSU. He wouldn't say he was staying. This year it's Texas A&M. What's he going to do next year when another team comes calling and you guys are struggling?
And to be fair, he has done this in the past.
He has.
Yeah, I mean,
but it seems like it gets worse and worse each year. Where, to me, I want Dan Mullen.
Just gets worse.
I want Dan Mullen to say every year, "No, I'm definitely the Florida Gators coach." Well, this is a stupid question. Why would you even ask me something crazy like that? Florida Gators is my coach. It's when a coach says, "I don't know." It's tough.
Once again, if he left for the money, I mean, he better stay at Texas A&M because no one else is going to pick him up, you know?
Nah, I don't know about that.
No one wants a mercenary. You want somebody loyal.
Tennessee would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't.
Yeah, they would.
No, they would.
Hey, he wouldn't go to Tennessee.
No, he wouldn't. You're right, because he would have other choices.
Hey, is Lane Kiffin welcome back now?
I think anybody's welcome back now.
Remember we ran that poll and everybody was like, "Hell no, he can't go back."
I mean, he's looking good at FAU, man.
He's desperately looking for attention on Twitter, that's for sure.
I mean, he's kind of a wild card.
We should run that poll again. Can Lane Kiffin go back to Tennessee?
It's probably good timing for it.
Let's do it.
I'm going to compare your
Go ahead.
ability not to see what's going on to myself. So if I sat here with you guys today and said, "There's no way in hell Scott Frost would ever leave UCF and go to Nebraska," I would sound like an idiot.
No. It'd be even worse if you said, "What's going on at UCF?" Nothing.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Scott Frost.
I
didn't hear any news
Nebraska
about him.
rumors?
What? I don't understand. What's this question about?
Oh,
So
man.
it's well known that Scott Frost is a Nebraska guy. It's well known that Nebraska has fired their coach and that these rumors have been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And after the AAC championship game this Saturday when Memphis takes another defeat at the hands of UCF, we're going to see what happens. And I do have a bad feeling in my gut that even though it's before the bowl, they're going to go ahead and sign him. That 7-year, $35 million contract is being floated out there.
From Nebraska, right?
From Nebraska. I think it's going to happen. And it makes me sad just because he has been a big part of UCF getting to this elite status. This undefeated season's been like a fairy tale almost. And as a fan, I think I said to you guys, my bold prediction this year was UCF going 8-4.
Yeah,
that was my bold prediction.
It was, yeah.
And so 12-0. I mean,
we never saw this coming.
No,
all of us
nobody.
all of us thought that UCF would improve in a big way.
Yep.
But we still thought they were a year away from this kind of season.
Absolutely.
I would have assumed that their third year would be the year that they go undefeated and that Scott Frost would have all of the heat and everything. But I will say this: if Scott Frost stays, it's going to be the same thing as Jimbo Fisher. Like this year, you're okay with Scott Frost mulling over Nebraska. You understand it as a fan. Next year, maybe you'll understand it again because, again, he's going to be hot and you're still UCF and there's still other bigger schools trying to poach him. But then year 4, year 5, if he's still going hemming and hawing, I don't know what I'm going to do, it's going to grow tiring. You want your coach to finally, kind of like what Mike Gundy said. He tweeted out after he turned down Tennessee's job, I'm a Cowboy for life.
Yeah.
That's
Good
what
for
you
him,
want your
man.
coach
Good
to
for
say,
him.
you know?
Yeah, that was awesome.
So,
I love his hair.
but I also think UCF needs to get serious. I read a report that he has a $3 million offer on the table. So they doubled his salary. I guess he's getting paid like $1.5 million or $2 million, something like that. And it's like, come on, UCF, you can do better than that.
Can they?
Oh, yeah,
They're a
big
huge
time.
school. 60,000, 70,000 students. You're graduating that all the time. You have alumni. It's time to get the booster serious. It's time. I mean, you saw the crowd. That's the biggest crowd UCF's had in a long time. They're going to come out and show out again. But unless UCF gets serious with their offer, I think he'll be
The biggest
gone.
problem is we're not in a Power 5 conference. That is the biggest problem. So even if we're able to match Nebraska, is it going to be enough? Are we going to have to come out with a bigger offer than Nebraska? Because in Nebraska, you get a shot to, if you go undefeated, you're in the conversation to be in the top 4.
Well, this is where the question lies, though. Is it easier to go undefeated at UCF than it is at Nebraska? I definitely think it is. Does UCF have more talent at its disposal, recruiting-wise, in the state of Florida than he does at Nebraska?
Yep.
He definitely does. And does he have a shot at leading UCF, say 5 or 6 years down the line when the Big 12 is looking to expand, being able to say, hey, I was the coach that brought UCF to the Big 12. And then he can win playoffs and he can win championships and stuff like that, kind of like what Patterson did for TCU. But again, it's all about what kind of legacy does Scott Frost want. A lot of people just assume Scott Frost is going to go home because that's just what people do is, I miss home and everything else. But not everybody's like that. I've grown up here my whole life. I cannot wait till my son's 18 so I can move out of here. I'm just ready for a change of scenery. I'm ready to get out of the heat. I'm ready to do this. Him growing up in Nebraska, maybe he's lived here in Florida, and he's like, you know what? It's 80 degrees out today, and it's almost December. Why the hell do I want to go freeze my ass off in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Yeah.
Me and my wife can go to the beach tomorrow if I wanted to.
Absolutely. Look, what we should do is just go and hurt some UCF players. That way they don't win this game. And that way Scott Frost doesn't look, that's the way Scott Frost doesn't look so attractive.
He would definitely leave at that point. You know what, though? They can't do any worse than Nebraska. So even if Scott Frost went on like a losing streak, it doesn't matter because he's done enough to put his name out there. And I get it. At this point in his career, he went from coordinator, and then now he's a head coach in a smaller school, football legacy-wise, not like size-wise. And then he wants to go to one of these huge legacies, and he's got the ties to Nebraska. It could be one of those situations where, when Jimbo Fisher went to Florida State, they were down and out. Bowden had ran that team into the ground, and he was able to pull that team up. And now we're talking about Florida State like they're a perennial powerhouse.
I mean, they weren't
ran into the ground.
I mean, they weren't 5 and 6 bad, but yeah, I mean, they were bad.
Yeah, we weren't horrible. We just weren't doing what we have done in the last 7 years. I mean, they were.
I mean, I'll have to look at it.
I thought the last few years of Bowden were fantastic.
Yeah, dude, they were.
Florida was 6-0.
That's what he thinks. I mean, it wasn't like gloom and doom. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't as good as it used to be, but it wasn't gloom and doom. Don't do Bobby like that.
I'm using that as a comparison.
I mean, they did Bobby like that. They threw him out they did Eli.
I'm not even going to get into it with him. I'm not going to do it.
I mean, these teams go through these ebb and flows where you may be a powerhouse this year,
cycle.
And then it is a 10-year cycle. Alabama, they were down, and then they get Nick Saban, they're back up again.
Yep.
And then
Ohio State.
Some football legacies never come back. I mean, look, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee was in the 90s and the early 2000s. Tennessee was a team, man. Like they weren't what Florida was. Florida was winning the SEC East, but Tennessee was always right there. They had Peyton Manning, they had T. Martin, they had national titles, and they pushed Florida to the limit. They pushed Bama to the limit. They were a really good team. They don't have a 100,000 seat stadium because they used to suck.
Exactly.
And some teams, look at SMU in the 80s. Obviously, they had the death penalty. Maybe Tennessee needs the death. Maybe that's a little bit better than what they're going through right now. But
just take a year off. Take a couple of years off.
I mean, Nebraska, they've been missing for 20 years now. The 90s are over.
Yeah,
the Tom Osborne days are gone. And that was another thing, too, is everybody's like, oh, he can go and be the right-hand man to God. He can be Tom Osborne Jr. And I'm like, Well, why would you want to be the right-hand man of God or somebody's junior when you can be Scott Frost Sr. or God yourself at UCF? But we'll see what happens. Listen, we said that this coaching thing is so exciting that we forget about the games. We have games to talk about.
Yeah, we've been going all over.
We said it
What
on
games?
we said it on College Tailgaters.
Are we talking about foosball?
Yeah. We said on College Tailgaters, this is some of the most exciting conference championship weekend we've had in a really long time. Especially,
It matters.
Especially since the playoff started. This is a 4-team playoff, but right now, these are all first-round playoff games.
Yeah.
Other than maybe the Pac-12, the Big 12 championship is it's a halfway play-in game. A lot of people don't give TCU any credit being a 2-loss team. The only 2 teams that have 2 losses that they're saying have a chance if they win is Ohio State and obviously Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
So the SEC title game and the Big 10 championship game is a play-in game.
Their first-round playoffs.
The ACC championship's a play-in game. So you got 3 playoff games basically where you're winning, you're in.
Yeah.
But TCU could be the spoiler. That would be
Well, that's why it's the Big 12 is a half of a
Right,
play-in game because
absolutely.
Oklahoma wins, they're in. If they lose, they're out.
and then Alabama squeaks in.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
2 SECs?
So I was looking at this.
That'd be rough.
There's a very outside chance that 2 SEC teams get in.
That's rough.
Alabama's sitting there at number 5. They honestly would need somebody like Oklahoma to lose because the rest of them are playing games when you look at it. So if you have, let's say, Clemson loses, they're playing Miami, right?
Okay.
So if you have Clemson lose, Clemson's out, but maybe Miami sneaks in. So that one or the other is probably going to end up being in. Same thing on the SEC side. You've got Georgia. If they win, they're in. You have Auburn. If they win, they're in. But if one of them loses, they're out. So those are both play-in games. It's that Oklahoma-TCU game that would leave a spot open for this other wild card team, which theoretically would be Alabama since they're sitting in the 5 spot. So TCU could help out Alabama and really hurt their conference by not
laying down and losing.
laying down and losing. Now it would be good for them as a school. They're like,
So here's
you're
what,
our rival. We screwed you.
here's what kind of sucks about the committee. The committee gets to make up whatever the hell rules they want. So one year they can say, oh, conference championship means a lot to us. We want a conference champion in. And then the next year, like with Penn State winning the Big Ten, they say,
We'll
get the
take
conference
Ohio.
channel. We'll take Ohio State. This year, they can make up whatever they want. Like you said, if Oklahoma loses and Ohio State wins, they can still say, yeah, but we really like Alabama, and you burnt us last year when we put you in because you lost 31-0 to Clemson, so we don't trust you. You embarrassed us. We put you in. We gave you the shot as a non-conference champion, and you made us look like idiots. So we trust Alabama more than we trust Ohio State. And then they can just excuse it with the fact that Ohio State has 2 embarrassing losses. They got blown out, and Alabama's been to the national title the last 2 years. They can make up whatever excuse they want to justify their reasoning. So that's why I told Sean Tailgater that if he wants the Big Ten to get in, he needs to stop rooting for Ohio State and start pulling hard for Wisconsin.
Yeah, because with
Wisconsin, it's guaranteed.
Yep.
The Big Ten would riot if an undefeated Wisconsin got left out and 2 SEC teams got put in.
Right. If Wisconsin wins, they're in.
Right.
In my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
crazy things can happen, but I think it's really hard for the committee to take them and keep them out if they're undefeated.
Why wouldn't, if they lost, they still be in?
Who, Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Because they're number 4 and they're an undefeated team. So you have a 2-loss team ahead of them and 2 1-loss team. One was they lost to a team like Syracuse, and the other was Oklahoma lost to Iowa State. These are 2 teams with losses that are they look ugly as losses, and they're ahead of an undefeated team that I think that every single game they've played, I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure at least 10 or 11 games they've won by double digits.
So this is the other thing. When you lose is important. So when you lose to Syracuse halfway through the year, and we had this conversation, and you said Clemson's not going to be able to climb their way back in.
I did say that.
We said,
I
no,
actually
you're
did.
No,
crazy.
it was early enough where
Yeah.
as long as they keep winning, they
Well,
work
at
their
the
way back up
time,
the ladder.
other
If
things
you
were
lose
working
at the
out.
end, Wisconsin, if they lose, they're done. You can't work your way back
Well, I
up.
said Clemson couldn't work their way in, but nobody predicted
Same thing with Alabama.
Georgia.
Excuse me. I told you that Georgia and Alabama all season long weren't as good as everybody says they were.
Oh, they're still good.
I know they're still good, but they're not great. They're not unstoppable or undefeatable.
I mean,
I kinda
Georgia
feel like
got
that
run
about
out.
Wisconsin, though.
Auburn. Yeah, I feel that way too, and that's why they're number 4. But Auburn
snuck up on everybody.
They should have snuck up on Alabama. Alabama was on high alert when they watched what they did to Georgia.
Yeah.
So
Now,
there was no excuse for that.
Auburn is kryptonite to Nick Saban, though. That's that
No,
one
not really.
team.
Don't.
Yes.
No, you're making stuff up now. I think Auburn's beaten Nick Saban 3 times in his 10 years there.
So, but can Georgia beat Auburn now?
So 3 times. How many other teams can say they've beaten Nick Saban 3 times? Alabama loses
right.
1 or 2 games a
You're
year.
right.
And Auburn.
Ole Miss is up there with it. They've won twice.
I'm going to have to look this up.
I mean,
But
I guess relatively speaking, yes, Auburn is their kryptonite, but it's not like
they haven't
they win
stopped
all
them,
the
like,
time.
beat down. But who? I mean, can Auburn beat Georgia twice? I mean,
Yes.
Out of all of this,
Yes.
I think that's the question. It's going to be tough to beat them twice.
I think they run them out of the Atlanta Dome.
Auburn's also
think it
hot.
happens again.
They lost their games early, and then they came back and beat the teams they needed to beat, and now they're hot. And I think they're coming in with a ton of confidence.
I don't know. We're going to find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah. And Clemson.
What about
Miami.
UCF sneaking in?
No, that's not happening.
Oh man.
Tell me a little bit. See, Mac's got a theory on this, I think.
I already know what's going on. The college football playoff is keeping them out of the top 10, so there is no way they can get into the playoff.
Okay.
The one thing I want to say, and I know you're going to go on your rant about small schools
I'm gonna
and
go.
this,
No,
that,
no,
and the
yeah,
other.
Go ahead.
The one thing I'm going to say is I get it. I understand you're not a Power 5 team, but UCF's strength of schedule, they've played some good teams, not any great teams. I get all that. But there is no way in hell that a 3-loss team should be ranked ahead of UCF.
Okay.
That, in my opinion, is bullshit.
All right. Let's go ahead and do it. So I was going in on Twitter at Memphis Spence and Chris America one day, and I told them I would give them my experience because it was too long to actually type out. So I'll give you my experience. Being a coach, just little league or whatever, I was still a coach. I had a really great team. I think they had come off a 500 year, and we were looking to do some pretty good things the next year. We planned it all through January all the way up to August. We were ready, and about in July, a team had dropped out of the league, and they said, "Hey, we got an open spot on the schedule. Would you like to play the team down the street?" Now, I had a really good team, but the team down the street, they were beast. Let's just say I was UCF, they were Alabama. No doubt. They were the perennial powerhouse. And I actually went to my coaches and I said, "Hey, a team dropped out. This is the team that wants that we can schedule to play." And all my coaches were like, "Yeah, let's get them. Let's go ahead and get them. Let's play them. We're going to beat the snot out of them." And I said, "Look, guys, think about this. They haven't lost a game in like a couple of years. We're going up against them on week 2. Are you sure you want to play them?" Yeah, let's go do it. So the first week we get in there and we barely win. It was against another crosstown rival. And then this week, the week we play them, they beat the shit out of us. Beat us down. Just horrible. I had players on the sidelines crying, coaches throwing their hands up in the air like, what are we going to do? It was just bad. And from that point on, my very good team barely won another game. I think we finished the season 3-8. My point is, stay in your lane until you know you're ready. UCF being a great team that they are, it takes time. It takes confidence to build that up. And what you don't want to do is jump in there and say, "Hey, look, we want Bama, we want Clemson," and jump into the big dance and then get your ass kicked and then never recover. And we've seen this time and time through sports. Boise State hey, put us in the game, coach. Remember when they were kicking everybody's ass and they kicked Oklahoma's ass that year with Adrian Peterson?
Yeah, that time when people said, "Oh no," well, Adrian Peterson was injured, but "Oh no,
Either way,
you don't want no piece of Oklahoma." We
Yeah,
do, and we
they
beat your
them.
ass. Yeah,
What has happened since then?
they've been good. They've been solid. They beat Oregon after that. They beat Chip Kelly's Oregon. They beat LeGarrette Blount's Oregon.
What has happened since then? Do we know anything else of them?
I mean,
what happened this year?
Nobody pays attention.
The last year.
What
The
has
year
happened? I
before.
mean, you can say this about any. Hold on. You can say this about any college. Like, what has happened to FSU since they won a national championship? They've done jack shit. What has happened to Florida since they won 2 national titles in 3 years? They've done jack shit. Like, this is such an asinine thing to say.
No. All I'm saying is it takes time, and you don't want to jump into a driver's seat when you're not ready to drive the Corvette.
Okay, so you know what?
Let them keep playing. Let Scott Frost get that confidence. Let those players get those confidence.
So you know
first.
what? Ohio State, we'll use that same logic. Ohio State, your last 3 losses, you were blown out. You had your asses kicked. So stay in your lane until you get your shit together. Fair enough?
I'm just saying.
Alabama, you just lost by 2 scores to your rival on the road.
That's
Stay in your lane
That's
until
Alabama
you get your
playing
shit together.
A top 10 team, no. I'm just
okay.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Jump in there, you play them, and then all of a sudden you lose your confidence, you lose your mojo, and you never able.
You know,
I'm going to give another
though.
example. I'm going to jump in on this because UCF has played well enough this year to deserve something. Now it looks like the Peach Bowl.
Top
if we
6
end
bowl.
up, yeah, we're gonna get a top
New Year's
6.
6. Or
But,
New Year's
New
Eve.
Year's
Yeah.
6, whatever. Peach Bowl, I think, is what they're projecting, depending on if they beat Memphis. But a few years ago, same thing kind of happened. UCF had 1 loss with Blake Bortles, and they weren't getting the love that they deserved at that point. And they go into their bowl game against Baylor, who was a higher-ranked team, and they beat the shit out of them.
offense. I mean, they didn't beat the shit. It was a shootout. It was back and forth. Blake Bortles himself, threw a couple of interceptions, and then he woke back up and
They took him out.
he did his
though.
thing. But they beat him.
They blew
just
him
like
out.
Utah blew out Alabama. Oh, we want Alabama. You don't want an Alabama. Alabama's Alabama. They're gonna roll tide roll.
So
and then they got rolled.
This team, I've watched pretty much every game this year. They are a complete team. Now, I think they've got some struggles on defense, and just like any team, they're not perfect.
Absolutely.
But they have a spark plug on the defensive side in Shaquem Griffin, who carries that team on the defensive end. On the offensive end, Adrian Killens is like one of the fastest guys in college football.
so many athletes on that offense.
He is so good.
They're good.
I mean, the team is really good. They deserve a shot at somebody to knock them off if they finish the year undefeated, but they're not going to get it because of their conference.
And the other problem too is you got teams like Northwestern in the top 25, but you're telling me Memphis and South Florida aren't. It's when I put my tinfoil hat and I got the conspiracy theory going on. You sit there and say, oh, how many teams in the top 25 did UCF beat? Well, it's not UCF's fault that nobody wants to put 2 really good teams in USF and Memphis into the top 25, but you want to put
UCF.
Northwestern in there.
yeah.
Okay, so what? So Wisconsin can have a top 25 win? Really? Like, to me, it's the rankings and the committees, they set up the Power 5 to look better than what they really are. Hey, I'm going to rank 10 teams in the Big Ten, even though none of them really prove that they're a top 25 team. But, hey, we'll just put them in there anyways.
So who are you so they're projecting Peach Bowl for you?
Yes.
Who's the opponent? Winner,
Well,
loser,
one
Big 12 or something?
theory I saw was Georgia.
Georgia. Okay.
They would stomp Georgia.
And that
Because
in
Georgia
itself,
Kirby Smart cannot stop a spread offense. I've said that before.
that in itself,
I'll say it again.
If they went out
That'll be
there
a
and
good game.
stomped Georgia, what would that say?
And hey,
Oh,
you know
maybe
what?
we should have given them a little bit more
Maybe we
credit.
should've got a chance.
Maybe in 4 weeks we should have had them move up more than 1 spot after winning and winning.
You
and winning.
deserve to be in the top 10. I'll give you that.
Speaking of that, hey, there was a time when UCF played Georgia in a bowl, and they said, oh, UCF does not want any part of Georgia. UCF does not want any part of an SEC team.
Beat
and
'em.
guess what? UCF beat them.
Yep.
I hear you.
Beat them.
Georgia was down that year though, but UCF looked so good
Hey,
it didn't matter.
UCF wasn't great either, but they
That's
still
true.
punched an SEC team. And the big mighty SEC, every top to bottom, the SEC is the best conference in the world.
At that time, they were considered the elite conference.
They were.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm selfish. I want to see
Oh,
you
yeah?
in the Peach Bowl, but I want to see you play Miami. I'm a little selfish.
I think they
depends
beat
how
wanna see
Miami.
Florida. I want to see
think they beat
Florida's
Miami.
finest.
That would be good. That would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
You know what? There's only 2 to 3 teams that I think UCF would not beat, and that's Clemson, probably Alabama, and Auburn. Other than that, I think they could win in a shootout. I think it would be a massive shootout between them and Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, that would
I
be
think
fun.
it would be an interesting game between them and Wisconsin because they run 2 different style offenses. Ohio State, they've shown that they can get blown out by Iowa, so why can't they get blown out by UCF? TCU, I think that would be another interesting shootout. It would be like Baylor versus UCF 3 or 4 years ago.
You got to shore up your defense. This is my first time actually watching the UCF game against USF. It was a good game. It was fun to watch. Your secondary is questionable.
Well, Quentin Flowers is an unbelievable athlete.
He lit you up.
So he didn't just light us up.
But-
He's lit up a lot of teams this year.
But still, looking at your secondary, you gotta patch that up.
Hey man,
I mean,
we're undefeated. You can come up with
a nickel back there, and it was just like, why are you still in the nickel? Get out of it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, hey, look, you want to play him? Go ahead and play him. I'm just saying.
we're playing that Nebraska defense that Scott Frost brings in.
Yeah, how's that working out? I've seen good teams fall to the wayside because they jumped up to the driver's seat too fast. That's all I'm saying. It could happen.
Well, Alabama jumped into the driver's seat too fast in 2008, and they lost to Florida in the SEC championship, and then they got rolled out by Utah that same year. I mean, 2007 was Saban's first year. His second year, they jumped up to number 1. They went undefeated, and then they lost in Atlanta to Florida, and then they lost in New Orleans to Utah. Guess what? Hey, did they fall off? No. I mean, we could sit there and use example after example. Obviously, look, it really just depends on who UCF hires after Scott Frost leaves or if Scott Frost stays. I mean, that's really the biggest thing.
And he's all on the Scott Frost leaving. I think he's staying.
I just said whether he stays or goes is really going to depend on how UCF does in the future more so than whether or not they go to the playoffs and get rolled out.
Yeah.
Or whether or not they go to the Peach Bowl and get rolled out. I mean, that really has no bearing on their future whatsoever. It just all depends on who their coach is next year and the following year after that. But let's go over the games real quick. UCF has to get through Memphis. I think I've already said Memphis is a top 25 team. Their only loss is to UCF. They beat UCLA. I don't think UCF's going to roll them again this week.
It's tough to beat a team twice.
But
it is.
I think UCF has a chip on their shoulder. I think they have something to prove, and I think they finish it out, man. I think they win the ACC or AAC.
I haven't watched a lot of Memphis, but UCF's exciting. They got some speed on that team, so I'm going to go with UCF.
I'm looking forward to the game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Got to go UCF, obviously. Homer pick.
Memphis is going to torch us.
Yeah, man. That's all right. He knows we're all UCF homers. He's a Memphis homer. ACC championship, I think obviously Clemson's on year 10 or year 12 with Dabo Swinney, and Miami is still, like we said, they're 2 years ahead of schedule. I think they're going to not necessarily be exposed, but I don't think they have the firepower to keep up with Clemson. Anything can happen, obviously, but I think Clemson wins. They go to their 3rd playoff in a row.
My boy Kev on Twitter, I forgot his Twitter handle, but Kev said, "Hey, look, we're gonna beat
That
Clemson."
was a good shout out.
He's a big Miami fan. He says we're gonna beat them down 44-3, and I'm like,
wow,
really?
that's a bold prediction.
I say, dude, like, are you serious? He's like, hey, look, no rationale here. We're just balls out. And I'm like, all right, might as well just go for 50. You know, so sorry, Miami fans, you're not winning this one. Clemson all the way.
Yeah, I got to go Clemson. I'm with you guys on that one.
All right. I already said it. I think Auburn's going to roll again. I think it's going to be a little bit closer, but I don't think Kirby Smart has any answers. The only concern I have is I think their running back got really banged up. I think they took a couple of injuries during the Alabama game, but man, I think Georgia's 2 years ahead of schedule as well. And I think Auburn beats them.
It's been a good year for Georgia.
The first 2-loss team in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's been a good year for Georgia. Even if they lose, they shouldn't be ashamed of what they've accomplished this year. So good for them, but I don't think they're able to pull it off against Auburn.
It really wasn't their defense that slacked during that game. It was their offense. Their offense didn't put up anything. I don't think it happens again. I think Georgia wins in a close one. I'm going to call the upset. Georgia in a close one. It's going to create chaos.
hey, that makes it fun. I mean, we can.
It is going to
Well,
be.
it's not going to
when
create
you're-
chaos. I mean,
Oh, God, yes,
whoever
it
wins
is.
that game moves in.
No, between us, so we can talk about something.
Oh,
We're
I
all
guess.
agreeing with each other. Like,
But,
you can't keep
like,
agreeing with
You
each
think
other.
Georgia goes in over Alabama?
They just won the SEC championship and they're a one-loss team. Why wouldn't they? Like
guess so.
Alabama's not competing with anybody in the SEC championship game. They're competing with Ohio State. That's it.
Okay.
That's true.
The chaos, like we said, comes from Oklahoma, TCU, and
Wisconsin.
the last time they played, it wasn't even close. Oklahoma rolled them.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of him.
Baker Mayfield is just keeps on
He's
rolling.
Baker Mayfield.
They're a dangerous team once they get into the playoffs. I don't see that slowing down. Plus, I've been kind of thinking about this. I think we need to take the referees out of the conference hands and make a universal referee, because it's kind of like here you have a championship game with millions of dollars on the line, and we're going to trust you to ref this game?
Well, they bring out a conference referees, don't they?
No, not for the conference championship game.
Really?
It's just a bowl
Only
games.
the bowl. Yep.
So you got Big 12 refs paid by the Big 12 calling a game where if our team loses, we don't get to go to the playoffs.
I think we need to get the Scout Team Bureau of Investigation onto this.
Man, we already got a lot on the plate, man. Like, you
There's
guys
a lot
keep
of
throwing
things to
stuff
be
at
in
All right, I'm going Oklahoma.
Oklahoma all the way.
All right. Well, with that being said, I'm going TCU.
Of course.
And
Kenny
hey,
football, man.
poor Pac-12.
Horned Frogs.
They're left out. They have a 2-loss USC that nobody's giving them any
Nobody
credence
cares.
to get in, even if they beat Stanford. But
Yeah.
I think Stanford beats them. I'm going Stanford over USC. I think Sam Darnold throws like 20 interceptions.
They're good. Stanford is USC's kryptonite over the last 20 years or so.
Well, I don't know about 20, maybe like the last 10.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce Love is everybody's kryptonite.
Yeah.
That's what.
Because
That's
when they had
where
Reggie
go.
Bush, like everybody, they just ran over everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go with Stanford on this one. Yeah, I'm agreeing.
See, I feel like Stanford was more Oregon's kryptonite. They were beating Oregon when it was the Chip
Stanford
Kelly
was beating
years.
everybody unexpectedly back in the day.
I would say with that game, I don't know.
Just
I
go
don't care.
Stanford.
Just go Stanford. Nobody cares.
He's like,
Here's the
he's like,
problem.
I haven't watched a single second of Pac-12.
I have not. Well, other than a couple highlights of Sam Darnold throwing
Yeah.
interceptions. I don't like Stanford for one reason and one reason only.
Oh, boy.
They are a 3-loss team that got ranked ahead of UCF in the rankings. It is not their fault, but I think it's a bunch of bullshit. And that,
That's funny.
and I do think
Do
Bryce
you think
Love.
UCF would beat
That is
Stanford?
funny.
Yes, I do. I do think Bryce Love should be getting more recognition for Heisman candidacy. I know he's kind of that second guy, but I think him and Mayfield are pretty even right now. But Mayfield is, I don't know, he's everybody's like media darling or something. I don't know what it is about him.
I don't
mean,
like the guy. I like Baker
he's
Mayfield.
getting the love.
Yeah.
Man.
I like
Bryce
Baker.
Love needs the love, man.
I like Baker.
You think it's
man.
the running back position? The quarterback always gets the love. He put the flag down in the middle of the field. He grabbed his crotch. He said "F you" to Kansas players. He deserves that trophy.
He's
Because that says
a
integrity.
competitor.
Yeah,
he's
he's
a
a-
competitor, man.
he's a
Don't
competitor.
get on that shit, man.
All
He
right.
did worse in crossing country.
My
country.
top 5 Wisconsin versus my top 5 Ohio State. They're both in my top 5s preseason. I felt pretty good about both of those teams.
Urban let you down.
He didn't really let me down. I mean, he's right there. If he wins the game, he's in the playoffs basically, or he's at least jumps up to the top 5.
Which is crazy
So-
shit to me.
I mean, they were pretty good picks. I'm going to stick with my one top 5 though. It's tough because my other bold prediction was that no teams would go undefeated.
Absolutely.
And I'm down to two left. And now I kind of have to root against myself because I don't want to see UCF lose. I kind of don't want to see Wisconsin lose. I like seeing new blood in the playoffs. I like that it's a change-up. It's kind of been boring that Ohio State, Oklahoma, Alabama, Clemson. Like, those have been the four mainstays the last 3 years. So it would be nice to see Wisconsin get in.
All right,
I'll go Wisconsin.
I'm going to go with Wisconsin. They're
Badger
undefeated.
up.
They're undefeated. OSU's they're unreliable. Period. They're just unreliable.
They need to stay in their lane until they prove otherwise.
they need to stay in their lane. I'm going Ohio State.
Of course you are.
I'm going to give you 5 reasons.
Oh, I know one.
We don't have that much time.
Yeah, we do. Go ahead.
Number
Go ahead. Give it a go.
5.
Five.
All right, seriously though, I actually want to see UCF be the only undefeated team. I think Wisconsin has been good, but they can be beaten, and I think Ohio State was in my top 5. And I'd like to see how it will all shake out. If Wisconsin loses, does Ohio State get in? Does Alabama get in? It makes the whole thing a lot more interesting for me as a fan to be able to watch.
All right, tune in next week where we'll discuss the other 4 reasons why.
Number 4. Number 3.
What happened to number 4?
Number 2.
Those are all valid points. I agree with you.
Number 1. And my last reason is my MVP of the week is Mackenzie Milton for being the American Athletic Conference Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. Good for you, quarterback of UCF. Number 5. Just kidding.
What is going on right now? He was giving reasons for Ohio State. Then he accidentally stopped the recording, and then he couldn't find his way back. All right, so
number 4.
Yeah, he's done.
I think I love talking sports with you guys. I could talk all hours of the day, but I think it's time to wrap up the show with our MVPs.
Yeah.
I already did my MVP.
He did.
You did Mackenzie Milton?
Yeah, he did it.
All right, my MVP.
I'm waiting for you. Why are you slowing us down?
I know,
we've been
we're at
recording for an hour and 35.
All right, my MVP, I'm in the honeymoon phase with my coach, so I'm going to make Dan Mullen. He's hit the ground running.
Already?
He's been all over recruits. He's playing basketball in recruits' driveways. He's got a terrible ball handling skills, but, hey, he's having fun. He's adding excitement. You got all of these former players excited that he's back. That builds my confidence. So Dan Mullen, he looks like Randall from Recess. Y'all ever watch that show, Recess?
No.
I remember it. I didn't really watch it, though.
The kid that tattletaled all the time. He had that little
I'll take your
hunchback.
word for it.
Yeah. He looks like Randall from Recess.
Okay.
Or he looks like Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation.
Ah, that one I get.
You're my
guess so.
MVP.
All right, you ready?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, my MVP goes
All right,
to...
that was a great show, guys. I appreciate everybody listening. You can find us at scoutteamradio.com on iTunes.
My MVP is, you motherfucker, is Joseph DeSalva and Travis DeSalva. There are 2 men who got arrested in Thailand for...
In Thailand? Where's Thailand?
That's where
Thailand.
Suzanne
Where are
Summers
we?
lives.
Thailand. It's been a long show. Hey, look.
President Summers, you have the floor.
These 2 men got arrested for exposing their butts at a temple.
You are the man expert.
When the cops arrived on scene, they put them in a scissor leg lock with their thighs.
Oh, man. But, yeah, these brothers went to Thailand and showed their butts off at a temple. And
you would be into that.
I'm just saying, it's pretty cool. I mean, with all the stuff that's going on in the world today, it's nice to see people just show their ass. So,
welcome to KFC. Can I take your order? Yeah. Can I have some chicken? I want some breasts and some wings. Sorry, sir. This is Thailand. We only serve thighs here.
Only
we do
Chris.
not have breasts and wings. You have to order thighs.
It's been a long motherfucking night.
Do you have biscuits? No, sir. We only have thighs
He's
and
gonna
Thailand.
keep going with this.
All right, guys. Tune in next week where we'll discuss what stage of grief Anthony Mack is in after his coach leaves.
Welcome to Thailand.
It's not gonna.